Hello, bonsoir, and welcome to the Get French Football News Show. I'm your host, Nathan Staples, and joining me this week are GFFN writers Eric Devine, Philippe Bargio, and Lucas Mirani. Bless my soul, an Italian is on a roll, but this is a genuine story of a zero to hero, or is this Hades in disguise? We discuss that and all of the best stories coming out of Liga after the latest headlines. Rennes got the Ligue 1 weekend off to a flying start with young substitute Adam Diakhaby grabbing the game's only goal in stoppage time as the host prevailed over visiting Guingamp 1-0. Saturday's early match saw Paris Saint-Germain knock back Bordeaux 2-0 at the Parc des Princes, Edinson Cavani netting a brace to bring his league leading total to 8 for the season. In the multiplex, goals were scarce in 3 matches as 3 struggling sides earned 1-0 home wins, Nantes beating Bastia, Caen dispatched with Toulouse, and Lille went over against Nancy, a result that sees Les Deux move off the bottom of the table. The evening's other 2 matches, though, were quite the opposite, as 10-man Mets were thrashed by Monaco 7-0, and Montpellier will feel aggrieved to have hoisted Casimir Ninga's hat-trick at Dijon, as 2 own goals were La Palades undoing a late equaliser from Johan Riviere, earning a point for the hosts. Sunday's early match saw hosts Angers earn a point against Marseille, who will have trouble digesting Pierre Capel's late equaliser in a 1-1 draw. Nice also left it late with Mario Balotelli's goal 3 minutes from time, allowing the hosts to remain top in a 2-1 win over Lorient. Not satisfied with just a goal, the striker then was bizarrely dismissed after seemingly having headbutted Lorient's Stéphane Moreira, but the booking has been rescinded by the French authorities after the game. He will not be serving a suspension for their next match. After a frustrating pair of 1-0 losses in the last 2 matches, Lyon finally have looked to have some sort of synchronicity, holding off a injury-ravaged Saint-Etienne 2-0 at the Parc OL in a match that featured several fine saves from both Stéphane Ruffier and Anthony Lopez. In injury news, Bastia centre-back Abdelhamid El Khaltari will be forced to have surgery and looks set to miss up to 3 months, while Montpellier's Daniel Congre is confirmed to be out for approximately a month after suffering a thigh injury last weekend. And that's all for the news. But remember, to keep up to date with everything in the world of French football, head on over to our website at www.getfootballnewsfrance.com and follow us on Twitter at GFFN. We start this week with Nice, who remain top of the league thanks to the mercurial talents of Mario Balotelli. The Italian has 5 goals in 3 games, notching up a strike every 51 minutes of Ligue 1 football, according to Opta. That's the best rate of any striker in the top 5 leagues in Europe. He netted the winner as well at the weekend, and a red card reminded us maybe he wasn't the finished article, although it was in controversial circumstances. But Lucas, how good has he been so far this season at the Allianz Riviera?
Well, he's been brilliant, and I think what he's brought to Nice is he's given them a real presence up front, and he's finishing, and he's been so clinical, and he's only played, I think, 3 matches in Ligue 1, but in every single one of those matches, he's managed to get on the score sheet, and I think that's partly due to the fact that all the service is going into him, and that's when I think he performs best, because if you look at his career, his best season arguably was at AC Milan, the first spell he had there, when he was basically the main man and he's getting service inside the box. And I don't think he plays that well next to a forward because he's not the most intelligent of players. But if you give him service and you put both crosses into him, he's one of the best finishers in the world, and he will finish chances.
Yeah, and that goal at the weekend really showed his confidence seems to be up at the moment. Philip, we were sort of maybe slightly reminded of his hot-headedness with a weird phantom headbutt, it seemed, on Lorient defender Stéphane Moreira. Is that something he maybe needs to keep in check? I mean, there was a moment in a game earlier this year, in the week, where he did clash heads. I think it was I can't remember if it was in Europe or against Monaco, but it's something he does need to keep in check to keep this form going, doesn't he?
Yeah, not only that, and he's not even the finished article physically. this season. This is what's amazing is that he's. I don't think he's playing 100% just yet, but he's just showing what true quality brings when he scores that goal at Krasnodar. So he's not even standing up straight. He just captures the ball and strikes it really, really sweetly. And against Lorient, again, I didn't catch the whole game. Commentators said his performance was underwhelming, but that goal is just absolutely superb. Leconte just could not move, just could not get there. So yeah. So first of all, when you'll be the finished article physically, we'll have a great preparation. I heard you had some kind of flu in when you was playing in Russia, and that was actually before the game, and it got worse during the game. So there's that point, and then the attitude. But that I think we can all say that Mario is Mario, and I'm not quite sure that he can take it out of his game. Unfortunately, I mean, I think he did that a few times at Liverpool as well. And early in his career, everybody remembers the tale of Mourinho saying, "Okay, don't screw this up. You're my only striker." And he tells this at half time, and 47th minute he gets sent off. So I don't know. I just don't think he's going to change right now. Now it's just take him the way he is.
It always seems like it's one of those little things that you sort of have to take with a player of his kind of talents. But Eric, how has Lucien Favre worked with the Italian, getting him into a side that really works for him and pushes Nice into where they are now at the top of the league?
I think it's a combination of two things. One is he's got these younger players, and even not so younger players. I'm thinking the likes of Seri and Belhanda, as players who have a bit more experience, to buy into his system and to allow what's really a fantastically talented group of players front to back. You think of the likes of Ricardo Pereira was one of the best right backs in Liga last year. Younes Belhanda has a wealth of experience internationally and in the Champions League as well. He's bought them. He's got them to buy into this system and that gets the best out of Balotelli. And I think that that's really a testament to his ability as a man manager. Not only tactically to play this 3-5-2 or 3-5-1-1, if you will, with Belhanda just beyond Balotelli, but just the belief that he's given these players that faith in Mario, if you will pay off. And so far it has, at least domestically. I think that the team have been perhaps a little bit underwhelming last midweek against Krasnodar, but did well against Schalke. I think that's more than anything is to be admired, and he did that with his best sides at Mönchengladbach as well. And I think that this is what Nice signed up for when they brought in the Swiss, the manager, just to have someone who's going to take a talented group of players and get them to reach a level that's collectively more positive than one might expect based on their talent alone.
Yeah, and it seems like it's great that he's continuing the work of Claude Puel, who's obviously moved on. But is there something in the water in Nice, Lucas, for a revival of a storied and maligned career, or is it this group of players, or is it the role that these players like Hatem Ben Arfa did last season of being taking that more leadership and being the man at a club? Is that what's really pushing these players to really rediscover their hidden talents?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think obviously being in a leadership role can have a huge impact on a player because Balotelli is now the main man, and if he goes missing, then the team really is going to struggle, and that responsibility can really change players. And it's also a fact that I think I've watched the games. The Nice players have really, really done really well to accept Mario into the group, and he's hit the ground running, I think, partly because the players have been so accepting of him and been so accepting of his talent and basically said, look, we know he's really good. Let's give him service and we'll be successful as a team. So I think it's a combination of those two things.
I think I'll keep the final question to you as well, Lucas, about Balotelli. Can he keep this up, or can he even push on and get to that form that we saw back in the European Championships? We all remember a good few years ago now, where he really put a barnstormer against Germany. Can he really rediscover those heights at Nice, or do you think he's found his level now?
I think that the only person who can answer that for sure is Mario, because I think he's a fantastically talented player, and we've seen that where he's played in performances where he's just been breathtaking and he's just dominated defenders. But his attitude has let him down throughout his career, so it really comes down to can he keep his form up? Can he stay focused? Can he work hard every game? And one thing that makes me think that he can is that in the last couple of games, I don't think he's been fully fit, as Philip said. I don't think he's at full fitness, and he's still managed to impact games, despite probably not getting that much of the ball. So I think if he can continue to put away chances, because he will get chances with this Nice team, they create chances, I think he can reach another level, and I think that would be a testament to his hard work and a testament to Nice being able to rehabilitate players in a way.
And we talked about Nice at length as well last week with Nathan and Lucas. I'm not sure if I asked a question last week, but what is the best team to accommodate Mario? Is it Player or is it Belhanda or both?
I think it's definitely Belhanda, because I think Nice's best performance of the season, in my opinion, was against Monaco. And in that game, Belhanda played behind Balotelli as kind of a floating attacking midfielder. And I think that suits Balotelli the best, because I don't think Balotelli plays that well with a partner. And I think Balotelli is best when he's getting service, as I said, and I think when he's alone up front, the focus is all on him, and the service gets tunneled into him, and he's able to get chances inside the box. So I think definitely the best team is him, and then Belhanda playing behind him.
And we also touched upon Nice, so big defeat 5-2 in Russia, how. Looking at the group table, it doesn't seem to me like Nice will be able to get out of it. Are you confident that they will?
I have to admit, the one disappointing thing I've found about Nice this season is Europe, because in both games they put out pretty strong lineups, and I think that Favre will be very disappointed with how his team's performed in those two games, because he put out his best team. And I think at this point, we're at a point where maybe he needs to say, okay, let's cut our losses and focus on the league. Because I don't think I don't think they can get out of the group. And if they do, it will take a huge toll on the players. And I think it may be a time to say, okay, let's give some opportunities to players like Remy Walter and Alassane Plea, who haven't maybe gotten as many opportunities in the league. So I think,
other side, sorry.
Go ahead.
The other side they haven't played yet is Red Bull Salzburg, so the best team in Austria, and I don't know. I just reckon that the next game will be make or break. If they win it, they have a chance of staying in Europe. If they don't, well, they'll be out. Which, let's face it, is not a particularly bad thing for them, given the squad. I mean, they've had luck compared to Saint-Etienne with injuries, but you look at Saint-Etienne, they look absolutely shattered in Europe against Anderlecht. They just looked that they had their head elsewhere, understandably, but. That's the real not necessarily a worry, because it would be good for Favre to play a reserve side in the last 3 games and focus on Ligue 1.
Yeah, because
that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, certainly. The position they are in the league is the important bit at the moment. But congrats to Mario for his 5 goals, and hopefully we can see him keep it up. And another youngster to keep an eye on is Lucas. And thank you for joining us this evening, Lucas. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We move on now to the real big game of the weekend, and that was on Sunday evening in the form of the Rhone Derby, and Lyon got back on track in a 2-0 win. It was a much-needed victory, wasn't it, Eric? But there was an odd tactical switch early on by Bruno Genesio, which was Corentin Tolisso playing at right-back. How did that really work, and was it successful?
Oh, I think it worked fantastically well. As anybody who watched Lyon's match against Sevilla will attest that Lyon were in dire need of a more solid defensive presence at right back. Tolisso had played there, I guess it would have to be 3 seasons ago now, under Remy Gard, and had done middlingly well. This is before Jallet had arrived at the club, but what my worry was prior to the match that Tolisso has been so influential. He against Dinamo Zagreb, he played very well behind a striker. He's been fantastic in midfield as well. And my hesitation was that moving Tolisso on out wide, particularly with Toussaint playing in place of the suspended Gonalon, would have Lyon lacking that bit of physical power and box-to-box energy that Tolisso brings when he's at his very best. But what we simply saw was a well-balanced Lyon side where Ribas provided great energy on left, Tolisso provided the same on the right. And it was that sort of balance that was really the club's undoing against Sevilla midweek, and it was what they had in spades in this encounter as well. Decent defensive performance as well from the 3 center backs. So yeah, just a great, really strong performance, a balanced side. You might have taken Valbuena to task, especially given how much brighter the team looked when Ghazal came on. But other than that, I think this could fairly be argued as Lyon's best performance of the season.
Yeah, and it just shows you how good of a player Tolisso is and why Napoli were really, really pushing to sign him in the summer. But another player that really impressed Philippe, and he's impressed us for the last couple of weeks since his return, is Nabil Fekir. It almost seems like he's desperate to score that goal that will finally sort of click him into first gear. But he's really, really pulling the strings at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, he's trying. He's trying a lot. Ruffier had an exceptional game last night, and it's quite amazing that Nabil Fekir didn't get on the score sheet last night. But I think it will come. I think he's showing the signs of fitness. A bit like Balotelli, I'm not quite sure he's at 100% physically, but technically he's still great. And will come in with the goods, no problem. Of that we have a little doubt. There was quite of debate after the game, where I think it was Fekir playing with Valbuena. So correct me if I'm wrong, Eric. And it was Raymond Domenech, so the former France coach, extremely successful, who said that this relationship did not work. Did you see it that way as well?
Yeah, I just think that the in this 3-5-2, the best that Lyon had generally looked, particularly in those two, is when you have movement energy to draw players about, and that's been primarily done through the willing running of Maxwell Cornet. Cornet was injured for this match, looks to be out about a month, and without him, the space that is needed for that second striker, if you will, that playmaker, just wasn't there. Valbuena's not the kind of player who's going to do that, to peel off wide and to track back and draw space. And instead, Fekir was forced to do that. Now, granted, it worked very well at some times. The assist to Darder in particular, Fekir can do fantastically well cutting in from the wing. But I think in general, the system works best if it's the striker who's doing the running and allowing space for the attacking midfielder and the central midfielders to run into. And we didn't have that because of Valbuena's inability to get about the pitch as much as the likes of Cornet can. So for me, I would have rather have seen Ghazal get the start. I mean, he showed his effectiveness coming in and getting the goal. I think Ghazal's had a bit of an underwhelming start to the season, but he showed, especially in the run-in last season, just how fantastic he can be if given a consistent run of matches. And at least until Lacazette's back fit and fighting, I think that a front two and Cornet, a front two of Fekir and Ghazal probably makes the most sense.
When is Lacazette supposed to be back?
There's not a timetable on his return. There's a slight chance he'll be back for Nice, but it's pretty up in the air at this point.
Oh, all right. So in 2 weeks.
Minimum, I would think.
Yeah, didn't realize it was that recent. But, yeah. So what? And it's probably the question I'm asking you every time we talk about Valbuena's future. I mean, he. I mean, not a particularly popular guy in at Lyon. Still, I'm actually, to be honest, I'm amazed that he's still at the club. I mean, does he still have a valid future? And especially in order to get back in the French side, because this is what he's going to play for now. It's a place at the World Cup.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because it's difficult to tell where he really has a spot. But I do want to mention another player that is on that borderline of leaving, and you've mentioned him already, Eric, in Rachid Ghazal. He's out of contract in the summer. Do you think that the club should offer him a new deal and get him tied down, or do you think he maybe should spread his wings?
I think so. I think that he's the natural replacement for Valbuena. This is a club that wants to be competing on two fronts, whether it's the Europa League or Champions League, season in, season out. They're going to need a backup, given the injury history of Fekir, given the injury history of Lacazette, who seems to miss time every season. Clément Grenier is another attacking midfielder who's struggled with his fitness in the past 2 or 3 seasons. The Ghazal has shown himself as someone who's adept at playing a variety of positions. He's great cutting off the wing. He's got a good eye for a pass. He can also score some goals himself. And I think that he should be looked at as one for the future. The question is whether the club can keep him happy without having him be a guaranteed starter, because he's still, in an ideal world, probably doesn't start if Lyon are 100% fit. You'd probably look at a 4-3-3 with a front three of Cornet, Fekir, and Lacazette. And Ghazal doesn't fit into that. I mean, this 3-5-2 is sort of a needs-must based on injuries. They may continue with it. There's some suggestion of that, but my worry if they continue in the 3-5-2 is that with the lack of depth at center back, you've really got Mamana and Diakabi as your only backups, or maybe Yanka Mbiwa and Diakabi as your only backups at this point. But if they can keep him happy, I mean, this is a player who has big ambitions, who's 24 now at this point. He's not the young prospect that the likes of a Cornet, I think Cornet's 20 is, that's gonna be willing to be patient and get his chance. But at 24 years old, you're someone who wants to take that step up and be an important factor on a team, or go somewhere and make more money. I mean, there is, I believe, a rumor linking him to West Ham in the summer. Everton as well. I hadn't seen that, but I think certainly for a player of his creative impetus, the lure of the Premier League is certainly something to be considered if he's not given promises regarding his playing time at Lyon.
The thing is, he has made a step up yesterday. I don't think I was actually quite surprised to see him score that kind of goal against such a good goalkeeper, because I don't think Ghazal scores that goal 2 years ago. I think his finishing was much worse than it is now, and it's a great strike. It's a great strike. It just shows that the guy's confident and that now he can finish, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago he was abysmal under Fournier. I remember him coming.
It was some kind of a one-trick pony. Think of a bit of a no offense, Nathan, of an Ashley Young.
I wouldn't give him that much credit. He was removed before halftime against Marseille in the Olympico, I remember. I mean, he was really, really poor, but Genesio's really got the best out of him, and I think he's got a bright future internationally with Algeria as well, and he should be given a chance. So if he can be happy at Lyon, I think the club should do their best to keep him.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because we speak that we'd like to see his contract extended, but he's not guaranteed a start. It's difficult to see him, in all honesty, getting a start at a club like Everton, who's doing so well, or even although West Ham are struggling, you think of their wide areas as probably their strongest suit. So is it maybe best for him to stay at Lyon and maybe fight for his place rather than try and resist the lure of that extra money that he'll earn in the Premier League?
Well, the thing is, I don't think it's his decision. I mean, I think if Lyon want to keep him, they will keep him because I don't know. I can't think that money was a problem for West Ham or Everton last summer. I think it was just a case of, personnel. Are we going to play this guy? Are we going to pay money to play this guy or to put him on the bench? And even if he's free next summer, I don't think it's going to make that much difference. What needs to be done is Olas, will he get out his checkbook and up his wages? That's a big factor.
The issue with him not moving in the summer, I should say, is that he was injured. He didn't play a match this season until the middle of September, and had he been fully fit, I do think he would have made a move this summer. But Lyon are lucky for the time being.
And it's an interesting one as that continues.
First game on 10th of September against Bordeaux. The starter. No, it's his only start actually.
Yeah, it may be something that will run, but there is rumblings that a contract offer is in the works. But you've already mentioned the goalkeepers briefly, Philip. But they, in all honesty, both of them were fantastic and showed that. Are they possibly the two best goalkeepers in Liga? It's on the. I'm putting you on the spot a little.
Yeah, with experience, yeah, I would say, yeah. I really like Lafont. Subasic is a good goalkeeper. Caruso on his day is unbeatable. Yeah, pretty much. Maybe we should do a top 5 feature one of these weeks to decide who's great. We've got Cardinal, who's doing quite well. Actually, he didn't have a great night in Krasnodar in Russia. They're definitely in the top 5, but I'll get back to you with a ranking because I can't. The thing is, every time we do a team of the half season, or a team of the first half of the season, or a team of the season, we always end up with those two. And this season, I can't see it any different. Areola, obviously, and also good candidates, but those two do tend to,
I think it's hard to see past Ruffier at this point in the season in Ligue 1, especially given the performance he turned in with Bastia, earned that scoreless draw against Nantes the other week. He's just been fantastic. His positioning, his power, just unbelievable. I think that, obviously Deschamps is certainly set in his ways, and I think their interaction earlier in the summer has something to do with that. But I think on form, he should be in that France team as a third choice. I know Ariel has a bright future, but I think he should be rewarded with a cap at some point.
And that wonderful save to his right again with the strong right hand to Fekir. I really, really like that kind of save. He's a great goalkeeper.
Plus, I witnessed the game against Anderlecht on Thursday evening, and you can just feel the frailty, due to not having Ruffier in goal, but having Jessie Moulin, which is probably the first time I've ever watched Saint-Etienne with Ruffier not in goal. I'm exaggerating, of course, but this just goes to show that when you have that kind of presence between the sticks, your defense ultimately feels more confident. And I know that Théophile Catherine Perrin, Bayel Sal are all injured, but it's just so much more than good saves. Just his presence is just phenomenal for the defense.
Yeah, and speaking of Saint-Etienne, we've already talked about it was maybe a slightly laboured performance, especially in the second half, Eric. And we've talked about the injuries they have and the issues they're going to have going forward with this amount of games at the moment. Do they need to start focusing on Ligue 1 rather than trying at the Europa League, or does Christophe Galtier try and sort of still fight on two fronts?
I think he should try to continue to fight on two fronts. I think that Saint-Etienne was a little bit unlucky. I mean, Pajot had some fantastic chances as well. Let's not forget in the first half that I would say Saint-Etienne probably got the better of the first half against Lyon, and that's with a very hamstrung squad, no pun intended. I think that there certainly is the depth here, that the players he calls upon to play in these unorthodox positions Kevin Monet-Paquet is at left back. I don't think anybody would have thought that. I thought he was fantastic. I think that, had Kurzawa not played a blinder for PSG, that, Monet-Paquet was arguably one of the best left backs in Ligue 1 at the weekend, and that's not a natural position for him. He got up and down the pitch really well. He showed that he can provide cover. Should Mbengue and or Pogba continue to take time to recover? I think that the tactical flexibility of these players, the tactical flexibility of Galtier, the likes of these young players coming in, the youngster Nordin, who had scored the other weekend. There's certainly a lot of strong depth to this team, and it may lead to some less than ideal decisions. I think Selness, did not have a great game at center back for me, but yeah, I think so. There's every chance that Saint-Etienne can progress in that group, and why not? I think that they're a fun team to watch. There's a lot of interesting attacking talents on this team, and provided Hamuma's not out, I mean, he had to leave the match as well. Provided Hamuma's not out for an extended period, they should continue to play on both fronts. Yes.
Yeah.
They must be thrilled to have the international break, unlike all of us, but they must be absolutely thrilled with all these injuries, and they felt knackered. They actually felt not knackered against Anderlecht, but they just felt like they did not want to play that game. And to be honest, neither side deserved to score, so they just had all the action was about the derby. I mean, it was almost like, oh, we really don't want to play that European game. And they need that break. They honestly do more than Nice.
Yeah, exactly. When you're playing Leclerc and Selness at centre back, it shows you the issues that they have at the moment. But
all the squad death.
Yeah. Well, great win for Lyon, and hopefully that, like you say, that international break heals some aching wounds. But the real eye-catching result of the weekend was Metz, as Monaco trounced them 7-0 away from home. It's Monaco's biggest away win in the league. Philippe, it's a real statement of tempt, isn't it, from Leonardo Jardim's men?
Yeah, well, I was quite surprised to see them win 7-0. More so on Metz's side than on Monaco's. I mean, yeah, Monaco can score goals, and I was just checking this out on my phone and thought, okay, well, maybe out of those 7 goals, 6 were Fabinho penalties, which doesn't seem that improbable. But the goals they scored, they were quite good. The double 1-2 between João Moutinho and Valère Germain, Bernardo Silva, even Carrillo scored a brace, which is great for his confidence. I just don't quite get how a side as organised as Metz just can get demolished like that. Not only once, because it already happened once. They already lost at Saint-Symphorien at home to Bordeaux 3-0, and now they just lost 7-0. It's really where on earth did that come from? But yeah, to me, Monaco are walking on water. There's the games they should be losing. Like there's the one against Leverkusen they didn't lose. They just you feel complete cohesion within the squad. So a good goalkeeper. Glick has really sorted out the defense with Jemison, very good. Great to buy those 2 quality fullbacks in CDB, and I'm forgetting the other one.
It was Almami Touré at the weekend. He was terrific at right back.
Yeah, but that's not who I mean. Sorry,
Benjamin Mendy probably usually.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, who's quite good as well. He didn't play, but he's quite good. He's quite good as well. Fabinho with the 100% penalty record. Up front, Valère Germain is doing the business. It's gelling quite nicely, and you feel that they can cope with both competitions, which is great. And if not a contender for the league, which I think they're fast becoming one, a serious contender to knock out PSG in a knockout game. I think the games will be much more tight than they used to be, which is good.
Well, we talked about Metz's defensive issues especially after they went about 2 or 3-0 down and the sending off. But there's real problems when Guido Carrillo's getting in on the act, Eric. But he did reasonably well in this one, and it is. Could these 2 goals finally do the world of good for the Argentinian?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Nathan. He is someone that's going to need to be called upon as the season wears on. We've got Germain, we've got Falcao, but given his injury history, how often can he feature? Mbappe Loten's an option as well. Kylian Mbappe, the youngster, but he's only just returned from a concussion, and his availability in the future is to be determined on a week-in, week-out basis as he recovers from that. But yeah, I think absolutely Carrillo is going to need to be an important contributor, particularly as Monaco do seem to be privileged in the Champions League, and as they should. They certainly have the talent to do well in this competition, win their group, potentially make the quarterfinals, given the right draw. So a great boost for Carrillo's confidence. I mean, he's another one of these younger players like Almami Toure, who's not going to start the biggest fixtures, but who is going to be really important in the league as the weeks and months go by and Monaco continue to play a heavy slate of fixtures.
Yeah, it was a strange one from the Argentine. He started reasonably well and helped create a couple of chances and really faded dramatically for about 45 minutes as he tends to, and then 2 maybe slightly lucky goals. I think his first, he at least starts the move very well and gets on the end of it, but the second's maybe a tad lucky. But Philip, it really started. That first goal was maybe a little bit fortunate. The second is a good strike from Germain, but the floodgates really opened after that red card, didn't they?
Yeah, what was Didier doing on that first goal? You a complete miscomprehension. Well, maybe it was just pure luck, but yeah, the passing got much better, and the chances just came, and it looks much more fluid. You can't really believe that this side last season were doing extremely negative and boring 0-0 draws, and actually Monaco were quite boring against Angers a couple of weeks ago, where they needed 2 goals from Camille Glick, 1 goal and one own goal that he provoked. It just it really is like, where the hell did that result come from? But it's nice to see, unless you're a Mets fan.
Definitely, they might have been waking up to the classic letters after the number, where you really know that your team's had a bit of a beating. But Eric, like you've already mentioned, Boscili had scored a goal that finished off the rout, and they brought on the likes of and Doram as well during this game, and Lotan did come on for the final 10 minutes as well. Is it really frightening, the amount of depth? Should it really put the fear of God in the rest of the sides in Liga, that this Monaco side really are here for the long haul this season?
I think absolutely. And let's not forget that, even if 1 or 2 of these players are sold, Alain Saint-Maximin's had a brilliant start to his loan spell at Bastia. This is a really, really impressive Monaco team top to bottom, with a great balance of youth and experience in terms of Moutinho, Glick, Germain, but the young players are getting it done as well. And I think that after a bit of a down season last year, in terms of the losses of Ferrer Carrasco and Martial and Abdenor, they've recovered really well with the way that they've bought, especially those 2 fullback positions and Glick, and they look really set to be a contender until the bitter end of the season. Barring I think it would take 2 or 3 injuries really to really see this Monaco team undone in a significant way.
And they do look strong and capable of fighting on 2 fronts. But unfortunately for Mets, but fortunately for us, they've allowed us to introduce one of our new segments to the show, which I like to call If I Were Manager. I will ask both Philip with his man management style and Eric with his tactical nous in turn what they would do if they were in charge of a current Liga scenario. So this week is the turn of them both being the Mets manager, and after a heavy defeat and it's been a reasonable start to the season otherwise for them, Philip, what would you say to the players as they go forward after this international break to stop this from really corroding what has been a decent start for them?
So I can do anything I want?
Absolutely. If you were the manager.
Okay. So, usually, I'm not quite sure if I'd make them run their hearts out, or as I say, legs out after such a heavy defeat. Because to me, the defeat is probably not as severe as it should have been, because the goals were quite scored. Maybe a bit of a telling off. Yeah, you did lose 7-0 in front of your own fans. Granted, against a good Monaco side. But most of it will be low key. This is quite tough though, because lots of players are going to go out on international duty. So some are going to get punished and some are not going to get punished. But yeah, anyway, yeah, it's not. This is not easy, Nathan. This is not easy at all. Probably we install the confidence that was. Their own when they won at Nantes. Saying that they're not such a bad side. Not changing anything, because to me, Metz are not having a bad season. It's 2 bad defeats against Bordeaux and Monaco, which is more the exception than the norm.
So do you try and block this one out and sort of move straight past it, or do you keep hammering it home? Or?
I don't do any massive squad changes or formation changes or tactical changes. Just keep it the same, because it was working before, and there's no reason it shouldn't work with the players bought, with Erding in form. Engets playing quite well as well. Like the look of the defense, defended very well at PSG. No, I wouldn't say I'd change it.
It was a bit worrying giving you the power then to do what you wanted. But anyway, so Eric, on a more tactical sense, probably they did sort of fall apart, especially after the red card. There were gaps everywhere, and it was really a shambles, really, and they shouldn't have lost by that amount. So what sort of plans would you put ahead for them? Do you change how they set up initially, or do you change maybe how they should have reacted to this game, or what would you do to avoid this in the future?
Sorry, I think the reaction is the issue here. Doucouré goes off as one of the 2 central midfielders in this 4-2-3-1 with Kohut as the playmaker and Manjak alongside him, and instead the reaction is to bring on Habib Diallo, a forward, followed by changing your left back to bring in Benoit Asuakato. To bring on Diallo for Hein, and then after having changed Signorino for Asuakato at halftime. Now, meanwhile, you've got Guido Milan, who's been probably Metz's best defender this season, sitting on the bench. So what I would have liked to have opted for is to play a 3-man defense with Valette, Bisevac, who also had a mayor, by the way, and Milan in defense, and push up Aliou and Asuakato to play sort of maybe a 3-4-2, if you will, or a 3-4-2. Yeah, to get the best out of these players, and instead of bringing on these attacking players, which did nothing to assure solidity in the middle of the park, and continued to leave the center backs. I mean, Bisevac has had a good time, in Ligue 1 in his various stops, but he's never been the quickest. And to leave him exposed like that, without another central defender or next to him, or another defensive midfielder to provide him protection, I think Hinchberger really got that wrong. Monaco were always going to win this match, especially as it was 3-0 before Doucouré's dismissal. But the fact of the matter is, how he adapted to that made this a frankly embarrassing result. And again, Metz, not a bad start to the season for how poor we thought they were going to be going into the campaign. But I think Hinchberger is going to have to take a long, hard look at himself and think about that. Hopefully, Nguet, who is injured at the time being, by the way, and Jan Jouf can return sooner rather than later. Kevin Lejeune, the captain's yet to play this season. So there are some positive things to look forward to in the future for Metz in terms of their injuries not being as much of an issue. But I think that on the night, Hinchberger was asking for trouble, especially considering the options that were available to him on the bench.
Yeah, and the person I feel most sorry for is Didillon. Seemed to be bombarded by the end for the fact that the lack of protection he got was outstanding near the end. But put this out of your mind, next game, then there's the international break, and that's where we sort of head to now as Didier Deschamps has announced his Les Bleus squad ahead of the qualifiers against Bulgaria and the Netherlands this week. And the surprise was a first senior call-up for Athletic Bilbao defender Aymeric Laporte. And Eric, you've already written a great piece for the site on this subject, so I thought I'd let you lead off of telling us why you think he should be in this squad.
Yeah, I think this is well deserved on merit, given the way that he's been playing for 4 or 5 seasons now. He's not a surprise anymore. But what I said in the article, basically, if you've not read it, is that in bringing in Laporte, you've got a great set of 4 young central defenders who give balance. And we've seen that Deschamps, now whether he continues to be the manager, that's another story, but you've got great balance. You have Zuma and Varane that can play on the right side, and you have Mtiti and Laporte that can play on the left. But also, both can offer a little bit of versatility. I mean, Zuma is someone who can also play at right back or in defensive midfield, and whereas Laporte doesn't quite offer that amount of versatility, he does provide a more physical component, whereas that's a little bit lacking with Mtiti. I mean, Titi's a fantastic player, but at 5'10", 5'11", he's not the sort of big physical center back that Laporte is, and that allows Deschamps a greater depth and a great balance and a great platform in central defense for these young players. And this is the thing, right? We look at France as having all these exciting youngish attacking players, the likes of Martial, Griezmann, Kingsley Coman, Ousmane Dembele, Nabil Fekir, who are all fantastic prospects. But the defense, I mean, that was the big worry heading into Euro 2016. And well, it wasn't exactly the club's undoing. They did look shaky at certain junctures, having to rely on the likes of Adil Rami. And now, with this quartet of players, I think that France are really well set up for the future. You know, maybe Laurent Koscielny probably should keep playing until the World Cup. But looking beyond that is where France are really going to have to start to do a little bit of soul searching, because Koscielny's been a fine player for Arsenal and for France. He's been definitely their most reliable center back since the time he's been a regular with the team. But he's 31 this month. So beyond France's trip to Russia in 2018, hopefully provided they qualify, that is, there's certainly going to be a necessary turnover at the center back position. And given the qualities that Laporte has, he's really the perfect player to step into this void. Now, there has been some suggestion that, much like Spain have done in the recent past with Iñaki Williams and Munir El Haddadi, that they are capping him, that is, France are capping Laporte just to tie him to France, because he also is eligible for Spain, having been with Athletic Bilbao for so long. But I think that's a cynical way to look at it. I think that even with the injuries, Laporte is really earning this call-up on the way that he fulfills a role. Deschamps has been, again, very, very adamant about the footedness, if you will, left foot, right side, left side, of his center backs in the past. And going up into the World Cup in 2018, this makes the most sense, both from a squad depth perspective and from a perspective of the player's ability.
And Philip, another inclusion that's a later one, and it was just announced just before the podcast by our own Twitter feed, that Kylian Mangala had to pull out, so the replacement is Presnel Kimpembe of Paris Saint-Germain. What do you think to his inclusion in the squad?
Well, I'm not saying it's bad. It's quite good. I'm not quite sure why Mangala keeps getting called up. Sorry. No, it's good to see that Deschamps sees that Kimpembe is playing regular season for PSG, is doing quite well. He doesn't have a lot of people in front of him for him to be a starter, although it is only Thiago Silva and Marquinhos, which is quite good. Hopefully he'll get more chances, which, if he does get more chances, it probably means that either Thiago Silva or Marquinhos are going to get injured, which we do not wish. No, good news. Question on the defenders, which has basically my only remarks. Can we say something about Mamadou Sakho's international career and its status?
Go for it.
I think it's over. What do you guys think?
His Liverpool career seems over as well, I think. So
he hasn't played a single minute of football since the Euros, has he?
No, he was sent back home during the pre-season tour in the US for turning up late.
Great.
This week he also on Snapchat, I believe, was criticising why he hadn't played even though he was fit. So it's all
what was he saying? Yeah. I don't have Snapchat.
Not down with the kids yet, are you? It's I'm trying to remember precisely, but if I remember rightly, it was simply very subtle hints that he particularly pleased that he wasn't getting any game time despite being fit. But I will try and find out what's.
It's not like they need him. I mean, I don't think this situation is going to improve, is it?
So his Snapchat said, "Now it's 3 weeks. I'm fit to play games. I finish all my rehabilitation work. They don't want me to play, even with the second team. Why, I don't know. Still working hard like a scout.
It's a bit harsh, though, isn't it?
Yeah." But
even with the second team, I mean, he could be playing with the reserves, so he could still get match practice.
But I think his Liverpool career is over. And I think, Eric, you'll agree with this. There's too many good young French defenders, really, for him to be really worth a call-up. Even someone like Jeremy Mathieu's had a retirement this week as well. He's decided to give up on the squad as well. So, Eric, there's not really a place for him now, is there?
No, I mean, if he finds another club and plays his way back into the frame, it'll be hugely impressive and hugely deserved if he does that. But no, I think that the future should be with these slightly younger players. It's a shame. Sakho is 26, so he's not even that old himself for a central defender. But
no,
I think the attitude he's taken here is really worrying, and it's an unnecessary distraction for what's become an increasingly young French team, particularly with the inclusions of the likes of Korshia Sidibe, Kurzawa, Dean and Umtiti into that defense. And Sakho should have been perhaps a leading figure, but at this point he's too much of a distraction, and that leadership should fall to someone new, whether it's Lloris not Lloris, it's Varane rather, who has been named captain in the most recent fixtures in Lloris's injury absence.
And where's Umtiti? Is he injured?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Groin injury, I believe.
Okay. So what's the deal here? Because I'm looking at the list on the Équipe de France's Twitter, saying Jeremy Mathieu is in the squad. So Jeremy Mathieu has gone injured, I assume, and then announced international retirement.
He's decided to pull out and then has retired from international football. He believes this is from the memory bank, so it's not verbatim, but from memory, I remember reading that he hasn't necessarily had the most pleasant of times with the French national side and isn't seen as a first team regular. Has barely played, so he's just ready to give up, I think.
Well, he isn't. I mean, let's be honest, he isn't. And so Mathieu was replaced by Mangala, and Mangala was pulled out. He's replaced by Kimpembe.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Okay. It's good to have Kurzawa there. No Evra either.
No, so that's an injury.
Is that because he's injured or because he's too old?
I don't think I've seen anything about an injury. So
no. Which is great, honestly. Which is great. It is my opinion that with France, with the success that France had at the Euros, aside from being in the final by Portugal, France had a good tournament, a successful tournament. We'll look back at this saying France could have been European champions, and it's my opinion that Evra should have retired. But if Deschamps straight on wants to say, okay, our new left back for the next generation, next 10 years is going to be Levin Kurzawa, well, I'm particularly thrilled. Look at what he did against Bordeaux. I mean, PSG look much better going forward, not even defending. With Kurzawa on the pitch. Both goals came from the left side. Okay, one was offside, but he's almost transformed the way PSG play up front, and I would really support Kurzawa being a starter for France for the next 10 years. That'd be great. It's a right back position I'm more worried in.
Yeah, he's from what I can see, I don't think it was particularly any other than form. Maybe he was on the bench for Juventus at the weekend, which may mean he might not be fully fit. But there's nothing I've found that suggested otherwise, or why he might not be included. But let's talk about two players, Eric, that have been included, and that's Nabil Fekir and Kingsley Coman, who's returned to fitness as well. How glad are you to see those two back in the fold?
Oh, I mean, Fekir, obviously Deschamps has huge hopes for him. He had even rearranged the formation to privilege Fekir in the match in which he was injured just over a year ago. So obviously his dynamism, his ability to be a creative fulcrum and to also score goals, I think can make it a hugely important piece for France going forward. Coman, I think, is another one. He is probably the only natural winger that France have, and we saw the issues that that the side could have with that, and playing Sissoko in that position, whereas Coman is better able to stretch play and play with. We'd seen also Griezmann trying to play on the right, and it'd be sort of a failed experiment. Really, since Valbuena has been absent from the national team, there really hasn't been anyone to stretch play and to pull things apart in that way. And I think that Coman, and his pace and his ability to deliver crosses, is going to be really, really important as a change of pace for France, particularly as they try to navigate what's not the easiest group, particularly given the way that they drew in Belarus last month.
Do we believe that Valbuena is actually going to come back under Deschamps, at least? No? Is that the same firm no as Benzema, or is it maybe more light or no?
I mean, Philip, he's 32 years old, and his form hasn't warranted it, especially as a creative player.
I'm going to say firm now.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest way to put it. But let's talk about some people who have probably missed out, and maybe just as the likes of Sebastian Corsi has dropped out. It could be argued that maybe someone like Adrien Rabiot maybe should have had a call-up, although he's obviously in those under-21 squads that are trying to push for maybe an unlikely berth to the European Championships. Philip, is there anyone you think should be disappointed that they've missed out? Or is there someone that
I can't think of any. Not really. I mean, Kocha does play for Lille, so he can't really get called up from the start of the seasons they've had. Rabiot could have gone ahead, probably in the place with Cabaye not getting called up. This is the ongoing problem. I think the Cabaye situation is going to be a problem in the long run if Cabaye's form doesn't improve for Crystal Palace. And if when France are not going to have a particularly good game, like was the case against Belarus, they couldn't do much. It's possible that Deschamps may get criticism for calling Cabaye over and over and over again. But aside from that, no, I don't see any glaring omissions. No Ben Arfa, but
neither does PSG at the moment either.
Yeah, he did come in. He did come on as a sub against Bordeaux.
Yeah, it was a brief
but I'm thinking he's letting Unai get his house in order, and then he'll call Ben Arfa and probably either in November or next March. Not sure when, but I think he will. He won't get called up sooner or later.
Eric, is there anyone who you think has unfortunately missed out, or anyone who's maybe a little bit lucky to get into this squad?
I mean, I think obviously Andre Pierre Gignac's in the squad. Given his performances in the last two matches, he's not deserving really of his place, despite a good run for Tigres in Mexico.
He's not playing well.
No. I mean, he's doing fine in Mexico, but I think that he was really poor in the last two matches for France. And I think it's only a dearth of other options. The lack of fitness of Lacazette, Giroud, Dembele being kept in the under-21s that's keeping Gignac in the squad. I think, were there, particularly because he does provide a unique option in terms of his physical presence, whereas the rest of the strikers are little bit more reliant on pace, the likes of Gamero, Martial, and Griezmann. So Gignac is sort of earning his spot by default. But no, I would have to agree with Philip. I don't see that there's any players who, are probably undeserving of, are not deserving of a place, that is.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting that they're still trying to maybe holding on hope that they can get something from that under 21 Euro qualification, but it does mean a couple of interesting players like Dembele does, and probably someone like Rabiot, who may have been called up otherwise, miss out. But hopefully they'll do well for Les Espoirs and see them through if they get a little bit of results going their way as well. But that's all for this week. My thanks to Eric, Philip, and to Lucas, who joined us earlier. And thank you to all of you listening at home. Join us again this time, same place next week. A bientôt and goodbye.